Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Julie Van de Kamp, the Chief Customer Officer at Sonar. Julie, it's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Fantastic. So why don't we start off by you telling us a bit more about your own journey, your background, and then it'd be great to get into what you're doing at Sonar, who your typical customers are. That'd be great.
Great. So I am a kind of an industry veteran. I spent the first 16 years of my career at one of the largest asset-based trucking companies in the United States in a variety of roles. I came right out of college into a pricing analyst role and kind of fell in love with the industry and the marketing behind understanding willingness to pay and rates and the impact the economy has on it. So spent quite a few years doing pricing, spent 4 years in our brokerage group, doing business development as well as pricing and trying to create a network there. And then came back to our asset side to be vice president of pricing for the entire organization. So asset and brokerage as well as our multiple modes. Spent quite a few years running our customer success, our customer service, customer experience group. Been a little while responsible for all of our sales group, and then ultimately ended my tenure there as our SVP and president of dedicated. So got some really good operational experience there, with most of my time being customer facing and that being a little bit more deeply into the operations. And then about a year ago, I made the switch to come over to Sonar as our chief customer officer. Was thrilled at the idea of it and the opportunity to continue to be a part of, the transportation industry and still get to talk about all the nerdy things that I love about rates and what's happening in market conditions and bring more data into that and feel like I could still be a part of it in a meaningful way, not for just one organization, but serving all of our customers within the industry and get to continue to have those insights and conversations with many of the customers and relationships I had built previously in a very different way, but then still bring my experience into this role and learn a lot more about technology and marketing and other things I hadn't done a lot in the past. And it's been a really fun ride so far.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, that's exactly the kind of background that we really welcome on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll get lots of insights to you from that as well. So we typically start by asking our guests to give us a bit more of a broader view on what you're seeing out there when it comes to general trends. So could you pull out one or two or three trends that you're seeing that's having an impact on logistics and the supply chain right now?
Yes. So, I mean, everyone, what they want to talk to us about is what's happening in the market, what's happening with capacity, supply, and demand. So, it is continuing to be incredibly weak, which this is really the longest freight recession in history, certainly the longest in my career. So, it's not that we aren't losing capacity from the market because we are, but it's just not being seen and felt because demand has been so weak. So if we'll look at, macro trends in Sonar for the US regarding tender acceptance and tender rejection and total tender volumes, and while tender rejections are going up as we see capacity leaving the market, tender volumes are also falling. So we're not seeing that shift yet where, carriers or brokers are having the opportunity to negotiate more. The power still certainly remains with the shippers in the short term. But as we all know, it's cyclical. It will change. It has to change. I'm shocked that it's taken this long to change. It's just a matter of when. We hosted a webinar earlier this week, sort of talking about the outlook for the remainder of the year. And while no one knows, because this is kind of unprecedented, right? And it's hard to look back because COVID sort of messed things up for a little while. And tariffs and changes there have certainly had an impact on mode shifts and inventory levels. I think it's going to remain weak for a little while. I guess, or fortunately, if you're a shipper, maybe. I think even for shippers, the ideal is that consumers are purchasing, the economy's in a healthy state, and they have plenty of freight to ship. I think it will start to balance out relatively soon. But I do think that until housing picks up and some other, drivers of the economy to create more freight, it's going to remain relatively weak for quite a while.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think against that back backstory, we're seeing a lot of talk about supply chain resilience versus supply chain efficiency. And how do you see companies balancing those priorities? And what does real-time market intelligence, what role does real-time market intelligence play in achieving those?
I think for us, real time market intelligence is, obviously that's what we sell. That's what we do. And I think what is impactful and incredible about Sonar that I've enjoyed is that it paints a whole picture, right? It gives you a lot more context beyond just rates. We do have spot and contract rates, but being able to really have that full market intelligence and see what some of the leading indicators are with imports or with tender rejections or tender volumes that are always a leading indicator prior to rates changing is incredibly impactful and important. And I think what it offers our customers or users or anyone in the industry who's looking at that data is a way to prepare and act proactively. And I think that's why real time is incredibly important because days, minutes, weeks count in our industry, right? It's not always high margin. So any opportunity to capitalize on that margin and get a little bit ahead of a market shift as it's beginning to happen is really important. So we are really proud of the fact that our data updates daily and is in real time with no lag, and that a lot of those leading indicators, the context we provide beyond just the rates, should help paint a picture even preceding the rate changes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's one of the things I wanted to look at actually was, the access to the quality data and speed are such critical factors in your business. And so what can you touch on a bit more about what's driving that need for real-time transportation data, and how do you think that changes the game for supply chain decision makers?
So I think there are a lot of reasons why the real time data is important. Beyond just margin generation, but also to create efficiency. As the industry is evolving and AI and automation are becoming more and more important, the better data you're feeding into that, the better job those things can do. If you're using agentic AI, you need to have real time rates that it's looking at to do negotiations for you, for example, or to inform your pricing models or whatever it is you're doing. Also, the market has been a bit, rates, different modes has been a bit volatile lately, particularly with the uncertainty around tariffs and some intermodal uncertainty that's beginning to pop up as well. So having visibility in real time to those changes as they're happening to ensure that you're really optimizing the decisions you're making, I think is incredibly beneficial.
Absolutely. I guess that's a good moment to dive into AI and automation, which also been hyped as being game changers in the supply chain industry. Can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing in terms of adapting to and adopting AI at Sonar?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that we're doing personally is ensuring that we're creating a culture in our organization of innovation and allowing people to explore and use AI in any way that they can to make their jobs, their lives more efficient and to do a better job. We're certainly not, to a place of totally replacing people with AI or doing everything that AI generates for us, right? But we've added quite a few things into our tool that create, plain language um, insights around what the data is telling you to make it more actionable and easier to ingest for our users. We've done things like had AI hackathons internally where we spent a day just working together in small groups trying to solve problems either for our customers or within our current workflows that we could make more efficient or better by using AI. We offer, if you're paying for a premium AI service personally, like ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, we offer reimbursement for that as part of our benefits package to encourage people to be open to it and use that and think about, in their daily jobs, what they could do to make anything that they're doing more efficient. And I think for me, I use it a lot as a starting place. There's a lot of role like things you need to do and you're just like, God, I don't want to get started or I don't know where to start. And sometimes it'll give you that kickstart, and then you can iterate or continue to prompt and it'll get you close to where you want to go. And then you make it your own and turn it into something useful. We're also partnering with a lot of others in the industry who are providers of either agentic AI or other types of AI that will be able to offer some of that to our customers in the relative near future, but ensuring that we are ahead of that and offering those efficiencies through our tool as well.
Interesting. I think there's a huge potential to use AI not just for collection and analysis of data, but also those business critical insights that you can offer to your customers, clients. Is that something you're embracing at Sonar?
Certainly. Um, we are always thinking about how to make what we're offering our customers more easily used, right? Whether that be plain language we're putting around a market trend we're seeing that they can ingest into their TMS via API and show, whether it be naming conventions in data, and if there's a way to make that faster for our data engineers and data scientists. But certainly some things that we've rolled out recently, like that plain language market insight overview in our some of our dashboards, as well as some of our coverage guides that allow users to see, okay, the market is currently tight and it's tightening. So cover the loads now. Your rate's not going to get any better. Or the market is currently tight, but we anticipate it loosening. And rather than just showing that with data and numbers, actually putting the words around it, we've found to be incredibly beneficial and help some of our users as they're training new people or as they have people in the seats be able to quickly and easily analyze it. We still obviously offer a lot of strategic tools where you can really dig into the weeds and create the insights yourself, but trying to serve it up in a more actionable way. And AI has helped us and tremendously be able to do that.
So thank you. I was interested in what you said before, touched on about sort of people, and it's certainly one of the recurring themes in our podcast series is the interplay between AI and the need for the human touch. In your experience, where does AI excel in logistics and supply chain, and where does the human judgment remain irreplaceable?
Yeah, I think that, highly repetitive tasks certainly you want to automate or use AI to do if at all possible. I think you still need the human touch in a lot of things. There are going to be exceptions to anything you automate or use AI to do. You also need humans managing those tools in many cases. And what you're feeding into it certainly is the most important part, right? Because it's not going to come up with something or feed you back something that's valuable unless you've fed something incredibly clean and precise into it. So I think that in no way am I thinking about AI as something that's going to replace people, but I think it is something that is incredibly beneficial to create more efficiency as well as maybe scale depending on where you are and the season of your business, and to take some of the initial legwork out of it. I think using AI, potentially an agent, to do some initial vetting or screening or negotiation before it comes to a person is super valuable and saves time for your people to work on the things that their experience is needed for. So I think there's a lot of use cases, and I think it's important, with an organization to understand if there is like some fear or concern around it. There's certainly a lot of conversations around AI replacing, jobs and human interaction, but there's also a lot of excitement about it. So ensuring that we're bringing our teams along and letting them be a part of that excitement and have an opportunity to test things out and give their honest feedback is really where I think I've been trying to find that balance.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree more. In that, sort of taking that a bit further, what advice would you give to? I know you've spent a lot of time building teams and really focus on performance. What advice would you give to those team members who want to stay ahead of that, hugely fast changing technological landscape at the moment?
I think take advantage of any and all resources you have around you. Read as much as you can, talk to your friends in the industry, network, read articles on LinkedIn, do research yourself online, do things like this, listen to podcasts like this so that you're knowledgeable about what's happening and changing in the market, read relevant news articles, and just ingest as much as you can. I think, a lot of organizations will spoon feed you what you need to help you grow. If you actually really want to excel in these sorts of things, there are so many resources available outside of what you might have in your current work environment that you can be learning from and doing. Go to conferences and network. Spend your lunch hour listening to a podcast or a webinar or reading articles that you think are going to make you more knowledgeable about your role and how you can be progressing, both personally and as an organization.
Very
And then
sage
share that.
advice.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very wise words indeed. I know you've only been in your role for a year or so, but one of the interesting questions that we ask our guests is, with the benefit of hindsight, if you had a time machine and you could go back 12 months, what would you do differently?
That is an incredibly hard question. I think personally I would do a little bit of what I just instructed, right? Like do as I say, not as I do. We all have really busy lives. I jumped in and tried to learn everything as quickly as I could about our organization and the data that we generate and our current customer base and how we work with them and the current processes we had in the organization. And I brought a lot of experience with me. But I think if I could do it over, I would and you have a busy, busy personal life, have 2 young kids, a husband, all of those things going on. I would try to set aside a little bit more time to do external research, right? Research on partners that we could potentially be working with, research on the industry beyond just transportation, supply chain logistics, but things like AI that I could be incorporating into our role and things that, could be happening to continue to improve our organization. Um, I think I would have done that earlier, maybe, versus jumping right in and spending all of my time and energy trying to learn just the current organization.
It comes a question of time, right? I mean, how long is a day?
And
But I think
how
that's
long can my brain function in a
yeah.
day, right?
Mm.
So,
Fantastic. I mean, the last question. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is rated not at all or no confidence, and 10 is extremely total confidence, how confident are you, Julie, that AI will create a measurable value to your business in 12 months, in the next 12 months, and also in 5 years from now?
I mean, pretty high, 8 or 9. Certainly in the next 12 months, we're already seeing it provide value within our business now. And the next 5 years is, gosh, it's hard to know. I think I probably can't even imagine what will happen with AI in the next 5 years and how much it will progress. But I'm relatively confident, like a 9, that it will absolutely be providing value, efficiency to both our organization and likely our personal lives.
Fantastic. Julie, thank you so much. It's been a great conversation with loads of insights. We've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. If the folks out there watching want to get in touch with you, where should they go? What's your website and socials?
Sure. So our website is gosonar.com. Um, I'm on LinkedIn personally, and we have Sonar page on LinkedIn as well. And then we also do post regularly on X, and that is sonar_FW.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure we put all the links in the description after the podcast. But thank you again, Julie. And thank you, everyone, for watching today. And we'll see you on the next edition of the AI Ripple Effect. Thank you.
Thank you.